Long before streaming and binge-watching, Petticoat Junction was the kind of show families gathered around to enjoy. Simple, funny, and full of heart. It introduced us to a cast of lovable characters who made that little water stop feel like the center of the world. As the years have passed, many of those familiar faces have left us. In this tribute, we remember 39 actors from the show who have passed away, honoring their work, their lives, and the warmth they brought to screens big and small. Bea Benaderet as Kate Bradley. Bea Benaderet was born on April 4, 1906 in New York City, New York. When she was 57 years old, she took on the role of Kate Bradley in Petticoat Junction in 1963, bringing to life the warm, strong-hearted mother of the Shady Rest Hotel, with a voice shaped by years of voiceover work. This role marked the peak of her career, but her life took a difficult turn when she was diagnosed with lung cancer in 1967, leading to a rapid decline in health. Despite the pain, she often found solace in classical music, a passion that brought her peace during her final days. She passed away in her sleep on October 13, 1968, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 62. Edgar Buchanan as Uncle Joe Carson. Edgar Buchanan was born on March 20, 1903, in Humansville, Missouri. When he was 60 years old, he portrayed Uncle Joe Carson in Petticoat Junction in 1963, bringing a lovable laziness to the daydreaming schemer, always chasing a get-rich-quick plan. Before becoming an actor, he had been a dentist. But his Hollywood journey didn't come without challenges in old age, as arthritis and heart problems gradually emerged. A stroke later left him partially paralyzed, yet he found joy in reading history books to help him cope. He died from pneumonia-related complications on April 4, 1979, in Palm Desert, California, at the age of 76. Meredith MacRae as Billie Jo Bradley. Meredith MacRae was born on May 30, 1944, in Houston, Texas. When she was 22 years old, she played Billie Jo Bradley in Petticoat Junction in 1966, embodying the beauty and ambition of the eldest Bradley daughter who dreamed of becoming a singer. As the daughter of Hollywood stars Gordon and Sheila MacRae, she carried heavy expectations, but her greatest challenge came in 1999 when she was diagnosed with brain cancer, upending her life. Despite undergoing several surgeries, she remained optimistic, often painting as a way to soothe her soul during illness. She passed away on July 14, 2000, in Manhattan Beach, California, at the age of 56. Pat Woodell as Bobby Jo Bradley. Pat Woodell was born on July 12, 1944, in Winthrop, Massachusetts. When she was 19 years old, she played Bobby Jo Bradley in Petticoat Junction in 1963, portraying the book-loving younger sister with a gentle charm and intelligence. After leaving the show to pursue a singing career that didn't take off, she faced difficult years, and in the end, cancer became her greatest battle, bringing prolonged physical and emotional pain. During that time, she often played piano to ease her suffering, finding moments of peace through music. She passed away on September 29, 2015, in Fallbrook, California, at the age of 71. Mike Minor as Steve Elliott. Mike Minor was born on December 7, 1940, in San Francisco, California. When he was 24 years old, he took on the role of Steve Elliott in Petticoat Junction in 1964, delivering the charm of a handsome, crop-dusting pilot who fell for Betty Jo with all the allure of a heartthrob. But after his shining days on screen, he fell into a cycle of depression and alcohol, which gradually wore down his health. In his final years, throat cancer stole the voice that had once captivated audiences, and he passed away on January 28, 2016, in New York City, New York, at the age of 75. Rufe Davis as Floyd Smoot. Rufe Davis was born on December 2, 1908, in Vinson, Oklahoma. When he was 55 years old, he played Floyd Smoot in Petticoat Junction in 1963, adding warmth and humor to the Cannonball train conductor with a natural singing talent. But the years that followed weren't easy, as he battled chronic respiratory illness from years of smoking, a costly toll from the stresses of his career. His declining health led to a fatal heart attack, and he passed away on December 13, 1974, in Torrance, California, at the age of 66. Smiley Burnette as Charlie Pratt. Smiley Burnette was born on March 18, 1911, in Summum, Illinois. When he was 52 years old, he portrayed Charlie Pratt in Petticoat Junction in 1963, offering humor and heart as the train engineer with a gift for playing instruments. Though he always seemed cheerful on screen, he was battling leukemia, a silent but devastating illness that weakened him even as he tried to keep performing to escape the pain. In the end, the disease overtook him, and he passed away on February 16, 1967, in Encino, California, at the age of 55. Frank Cady as Sam Drucker. Frank Cady was born on September 8, 1915, in Susanville, California. When he was 48 years old, he took on the role of Sam Drucker in Petticoat Junction in 1963, bringing to life the dependable storekeeper with a homespun charm. After years of dedication to his craft, old age brought on dementia, a condition that gradually stole his once sharp memory, leaving him in solitude during his final days. He passed away peacefully on June 8, 2012, in Wilsonville, Oregon, at the age of 96 due to complications from pneumonia. Virginia Soule as Selma Plout. Virginia Soule was born on May 20, 1899, in Urbana, Illinois. When she was 65 years old, she played Selma Plout in Petticoat Junction in 1964, delivering the snobbish wit of a wealthy widow with a sharp comedic edge. Life off stage, however, proved difficult as dementia set in during her later years, slowly erasing her memories. She spent her final days alone in a nursing home, often sketching to pass the time. She died of pneumonia on August 23, 1992, in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 93. Eva Gabor as Lisa Douglas. Eva Gabor was born on February 11, 1919, in Budapest, Hungary. When she was 46 years old, she portrayed Lisa Douglas in Petticoat Junction in 1965, bringing a naive charm and her distinctive Hungarian accent to the role of the city-bred wife in Green Acres. Her life seemed glamorous, but a fall in 1995 led to pneumonia, a sudden complication after years of battling aging through cosmetic surgery, marking the final chapter in her health journey. She passed away on July 4, 1995, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 76. Eddie Albert as Oliver Wendell Douglas. Eddie Albert was born on April 22, 1906, in Rock Island, Illinois. When he was 59 years old, he played Oliver Wendell Douglas in Petticoat Junction in 1965, bringing a blend of earnestness and humor to the lawyer-turned-farmer in Green Acres. But his later years were clouded by dementia, a disease that slowly stripped away his sharp mind despite his once steadfast resilience. He turned to charitable work to face his toughest days. He died of pneumonia on May 26, 2005, in Pacific Palisades, California, at the age of 99. Charles Lane as Homer Bedloe. Charles Lane was born on January 26, 1905, in San Francisco, California. When he was 58 years old, he played Homer Bedloe in Petticoat Junction in 1963, portraying the stern but comical railroad executive eager to shut down the cannonball. After a long career, he lived into old age in quiet solitude as the industry gradually moved on without him, and his health declined, though no specific illness was ever clearly documented. He passed away on July 9, 2007, in Santa Monica, California, at the age of 102. K.E. Kuter as Newt Kiley. K.E. Kuter was born on April 25, 1925, in Los Angeles, California. When he was 39 years old, he played Newt Kiley in Petticoat Junction in 1964, bringing the quirky optimism of a farmer with eccentric ideas to the screen. But old age brought significant challenges as arthritis and osteoporosis took a toll, leaving him in pain and gradually weakening him, though he often turned to painting as a way to cope. He passed away on November 12, 2003, in Burbank, California, at the age of 78. Hank Patterson as Fred Ziffel. Hank Patterson was born on October 9, 1888, in Springville, Alabama. When he was 75 years old, he portrayed Fred Ziffel in Petticoat Junction in 1963, delivering the lovable gruffness of the farmer raising Arnold the pig. As his hearing faded, he was forced to retire, and his prolonged health decline made his final years increasingly difficult. He died of bronchial pneumonia on August 23, 1975, in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 86. Jack Bannon as Roger Budd. Jack Bannon was born on June 14, 1940, in Los Angeles, California. When he was 23 years old, he played Roger Budd in Petticoat Junction in 1963, bringing youthful energy to the role of a businessman eager to modernize Shady Rest. As the son of Bea Benaderet, he carried the legacy of performance in his blood, but his later years were shadowed by lung cancer, a devastating illness that rapidly weakened him. He passed away on October 25, 2017, in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, at the age of 77. Tom Lester as Eb Dawson. Tom Lester was born on September 23, 1938, in Laurel, Mississippi. When he was 28 years old, he played Eb Dawson in Petticoat Junction in 1966, delivering the lovable foolishness of a kind-hearted farmhand. After Hollywood moved on and he returned to his farm, Parkinson's disease emerged in his later years, slowly draining the strength from his once energetic body and making his final days especially difficult. He passed away on April 20, 2020, in Nashville, Tennessee, at the age of 81. Roy Roberts as Norman Curtis. Roy Roberts was born on March 19, 1906, in Tampa, Florida. When he was 57 years old, he played Norman Curtis in Petticoat Junction in 1963, bringing authority and a subtle charm to the role of a railroad president set on modernizing Hooterville. After years of strong screen presence, his health declined as depression crept in, partly fueled by the relentless pressure of his career. He turned to alcohol for solace, but it only worsened his condition, eventually leading to a fatal heart attack. He passed away on May 28, 1975, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 69. Byron Foulger as Wendell Gibbs. Byron Foulger was born on August 27, 1899, in Ogden, Utah. When he was 66 years old, he played Wendell Gibbs in Petticoat Junction in 1965, portraying the timid cannonball conductor with a humorously anxious presence. Much like Roy, he faced mounting pressure from the industry, and the fear of being forgotten by Hollywood drove him to work relentlessly, even as his body began to fail. Ultimately, his health couldn't bear the strain, and he passed away on April 4, 1970, in Hollywood, California, at the age of 71. Paul Hartman as Bert Smedley. Paul Hartman was born on March 1, 1904, in San Francisco, California. When he was 64 years old, he played Bert Smedley in Petticoat Junction in 1968, bringing warmth and sincerity to the role of the dependable handyman in Hooterville. But behind the spotlight, he battled emphysema caused by years of smoking, a disease that made breathing difficult and gradually wore him down, echoing the kind of pressure Byron once endured. He died of a heart attack on October 2, 1973, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 69. Rosemary DeCamp as Aunt Helen. Rosemary DeCamp was born on November 14, 1910, in Prescott, Arizona. When she was 54 years old, she played Aunt Helen in Petticoat Junction in 1964, bringing the wisdom and gentleness of a beloved family member to the Bradley household. Though she remained strong on screen, she couldn't escape the health challenges of aging. The devastating 1968 wildfire drained her emotionally, and pneumonia struck soon after, delivering a final blow. She passed away on February 20, 2001, in Newport Beach, California, at the age of 90. Frank Ferguson as Dr. Barton Stewart. Frank Ferguson was born on December 25, 1899, in Ferndale, California. When he was 58 years old, he played Dr. Barton Stewart in Petticoat Junction in 1964, portraying the calm and professional town doctor of Hooterville. But his life was interrupted by a stroke in 1970, leaving him partially paralyzed and ending his career. Cancer followed as a final challenge, echoing the hardships Rosemary had also endured. He passed away on September 12, 1978, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 71. Olan Soule as Stanley Benson. Olan Soule was born on February 28, 1909, in La Harpe, Illinois. When he was 54 years old, he played Stanley Benson in Petticoat Junction in 1963, bringing the meticulous dedication of a Hooterville resident to the screen. After years of devotion, old age brought arthritis and lung cancer, conditions that gradually wore him down, much like the health struggles Frank once endured. He passed away on February 1, 1994, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 84. Parley Baer as Judge Vince Tucker. Parley Baer was born on August 5, 1914, in Salt Lake City, Utah. When he was 51 years old, he played Judge Vince Tucker in Petticoat Junction in 1965, portraying the stern yet fair judge of Hooterville. But like Olan, he also faced serious health issues in his later years, as repeated strokes left his body weakened and in long decline. He died on November 22, 2002, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 88. Hank Worden as Roy Turlock. Hank Worden was born on July 23, 1901, in Rolfe, Iowa. When he was 65 years old, he played Roy Turlock in Petticoat Junction in 1966, adding quirky humor to the cast as a colorful Hooterville resident. After a once active life, old age brought memory loss, leaving him lonely in a nursing home, his declining health eventually leading to heart failure, a fate not unlike the struggles Parley endured. He passed away on December 6, 1992, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 91. Tom Fadden as Ben Miller. Tom Fadden was born on January 6, 1895, in Bayard, Iowa. When he was 69 years old, he played Ben Miller in Petticoat Junction in 1964, portraying the rustic charm of a hard-working Hooterville farmer. But his health gradually declined as he lost his eyesight in old age, a significant burden much like Hank's final years, and his body could no longer keep up after a lifetime of toil. He died on April 14, 1980, in Vero Beach, Florida, at the age of 85. Walter Baldwin as Grandpappy Miller. Walter Baldwin was born on January 2, 1889, in Lima, Ohio. When he was 75 years old, he played Grandpappy Miller in Petticoat Junction in 1964, bringing a witty wisdom to the role of an elderly Hooterville local. However, he faced respiratory illness in his later years, a condition that slowly wore him down over time, much like the health issues Tom had also faced. He died of pneumonia on January 27, 1977, in Santa Monica, California, at the age of 88. Sarah Selby as Mrs. Frisbee. Sarah Selby was born on August 30, 1905, in St. Louis, Missouri. When she was 62 years old, she played Mrs. Frisbee in Petticoat Junction in 1967, offering the warm familiarity of a Bradley family neighbor. But old age brought emphysema, a condition that restricted her breathing, mirroring Walter's final respiratory challenges, and her declining health led to a sudden passing. She died of a heart attack on January 7, 1980, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 74. Elvia Allman as Selma Plout. Elvia Allman was born on September 19, 1904, in Enochville, North Carolina. When she was 59 years old, she played Selma Plout in Petticoat Junction in 1963, delivering the comic pride of a wealthy widow in Hooterville. After many years of tireless work, she faced a series of strokes in her later years, a condition that gradually weakened her, echoing the health struggles Sarah had endured. She passed away on March 6, 1992, in Santa Monica, California, at the age of 87. Don Washbrook as Herbie Bates. Don Washbrook was born on March 15, 1941, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. When he was 23 years old, he played Herbie Bates Junction in 1964, bringing the innocence of a young man to a few early episodes of the season. As the older brother of actor Johnny Washbrook, he once had a promising career, but after stepping away from show business, he lived a quiet life until his health declined in middle age, a path marked by silent losses, much like Jimmy Hawkins before him. He passed away on May 15, 2000, in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 59. Their stories may have ended, but the laughter and love they brought to Petticoat Junction will always live on. These actors gave us something special, and that's worth remembering. Which of these stars left the biggest impression on you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more classic TV tributes.